Good evening, gospel revolutionaries around the world. This is Michael Lilborn Williams coming to you this evening from the bonus room above my sister's garage in the Secret City. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Weather is changing. Evening hours are changing. The sun is just about to set here in a few minutes. Big changes as the seasons pass. We have a big change coming up this weekend. It is the beginning of the fall conference for our Calgary, Alberta Fall Conference. So we want to remind you of that. The only thing different about it is that it will be a virtual conference, and we're going to be broadcasting, and we also are paying particular attention to our folks in Calgary. We're actually doing this for them, and the rest of you can join in. There's an ad around here. We love doing the conference. I'm definitely missing just getting on the flight and going up to Calgary and getting in my room and staying there for at least a day before the conference and studying and ordering room service. It's just, it's a real delight. But I don't get to do that this year. But I do get to be with you through this live feed that we will be doing. Friday night at 7 p.m., the Calgary conference begins. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be, on Friday night, I'm going to be sharing things with you, just blow your mind. Good things. Sometimes we need our minds blown. Let me tell you, life can get difficult and life can get complicated. But there's a stabilizing force with the gospel of peace. The reality that God's not angry with anybody will save you. It'll save your mind. It'll save the way you think. It'll save the way you think about yourself. It's very powerful. The gospel of peace is the power of God itself. It's amazing when you stop and think about that all the things that God ever did, creating the world and parting the Red Sea and list all of the things that you know, but now it's the gospel that is the power of God. All of that, those great things, including creation, and now the power of God is all right in the gospel. Wow. That makes me want to understand the gospel because that's the power of God that resides in our lives. It has the ability to rearrange your thinking and help you think clearer, to help you think without judgment. And all of these things, goodness, without guilt, without worry. It's amazing what the gospel does. A brain on the gospel is a brain that is rewired. It just rewires the way you think. The things that I benefit from the gospel, I didn't intend to. I just learned the gospel, and the gospel did these things for me. One of our gospel revolutionaries does our poetry, and my gosh, writes some wonderful poetry, Jackie Barnard, and he wrote one called The Stealthy Gospel, and it really is true. The gospel just kind of goes in there and helps your brain out. It's good brain food. That's what the gospel is. So tonight, I want to share with you out of the book of John. I promise you that Friday night is going to be a blast. You do not want to miss it. I'll be teaching maybe an hour or a little over an hour on Friday night. And but look at the schedule and see what it is. Then we have 3 sessions then on Saturday. And then we're going to have 3 sessions on Sunday. We're going to close out with a Sunday night session. Because normally in Calgary, our 2 p.m. is our last session because everybody's got to get home. So this time, nobody has to get home. So we're going to do a very special 7 p.m. It's going to be interactive. We'll be sending you all the information. You can bring your questions, bring your comments about what you've heard, and we'll be having a good time. Daniel Rouse is in charge of organizing this conference, and we really appreciate it. Victor Brennan always organizes our conference in Calgary, and they're working together now on this virtual broadcast that we're going to be doing. I want to talk to you about 2 things tonight. In such a short time, I shouldn't be talking about 2 things, especially since I've already taken up 5 minutes. I want to talk to you about judgment and authority. For someone to be under judgment, they have to be under authority. This is one of the most important things that you'll ever learn about the gospel. Is one of the reasons why you are no longer under judgment. There is no way you could be under judgment. No way that you could be under punishment. No way that you could be, in God's eyes, convicted. Now, it seems silly that I have to say that doesn't count the police department. That doesn't count the FBI. This is relationship with God. Oh, Mike Williams just says you can go out and do anything. Well, not really. But I do whatever I want to do. The thing that shocked me is what I really want to do. I didn't know that. You see, when you live a life telling you what you do, what you can and can't do to be right with God, you don't even know who you are. You go around living a fake life. And but boy, when all that pressure's gone, you get to be yourself. And if anybody can tell you anything about me nowadays, is that Mike is himself. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's a wonderful life that I get to live now compared to before. Oh my goodness. So we're going to read 3 places in the book of John. Remember, we're going to be talking about authority and also judgment. Now here Jesus said in John chapter 5, then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. For the Father loves the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth. And he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. Verse 21. For as the Father raised up the dead, and quickeneth them, he raises up the dead and quickens them, even so the Son quickens whomever he will. So Jesus is letting us know that he and the Father are just like this. You just can't tell them apart. And he's saying even the works that are here are very powerful works. He says, if the Father can do it, I can do it. And then he says, verse 21, for as the Father raiseth up the dead and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickens whom he will. For the Father judges no man. This is so vitally important. Do you believe Jesus? Let's get this one thing settled. God never judges anybody. It's part of the new covenant. Jesus said, you don't even have to trust Paul. You don't have to trust Peter, James, or John, or even one of the prophets. And we can show you this in all of those. But Jesus said, for the Father judges no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son. So there was a transfer of power, if you will, or a transfer of the power to judge. And he passed it all off to Jesus. So now here Jesus has arrived in the flesh, the Son of God, and he brought with him this incredible responsibility now that he had all decisions about judgment was upon him. And let's drop over to John chapter 12, still in the same book. We're going through actually the book of John on Friday night, and I just want to give you a little teaser to help you decide to tune in on Friday night. In John chapter 12, Jesus brings up the subject of judgment again. He says, Jesus answered and said unto him, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now let's stay with the story. The story is so vitally important. All right, God has passed all judgment off to Jesus. But now it's time for the world to be judged. So how will the world be judged? It will not be determined by God the Father. How the world is judged will be determined by God the Son. Father judges nobody. Just, you can not accept it or whatever you want. But the Father judges no one. And Jesus then said, now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out, and if I be lifted up from the earth, all The word men is italicized there, so we have to go back to what the subject is. The subject is judgment. And Jesus is saying here, the judgment of the world is about to happen. But if I be lifted up, and he's not talking about a praise song. He's talking about dying on the cross. And we don't have to rely on me. We can read further. It says, this he said, signifying what death he would die. So when Jesus was talking about the death that he would die, he said, at that point, I'm going to draw, all judgment has been passed to me. So what is Jesus going to do with judgment? God, the prophets foretold the time when God would come and judge the whole world. But before God judged the whole world, he said, all right, I'm turning all of these decisions, all of these actions of judgment over to the Son. Now look what the Son has done. He's saying, now when you crucify me, I'm going to take all the judgment that was supposed to be upon the world, and I'm going to draw all of it to me. Because he had the authority to do so. Who gave him that authority? His Father gave him that authority. And then one last verse for you, and that's still in John chapter 12, I'm just going to read verse 47. And if any man hear my words and believe not, now we know what happens to believeth notters, right? But look what Jesus said about a person that doesn't believe. And now who is in total charge of all judgment? Is it the Father? Will God judge anybody? No. Jesus is the only one who can do it. And now look, he said on the cross, he was drawing all judgment to himself. And then verse 47, he says, and if any man hear my words and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save it. You're not even going to be judged for not believing. But Mike, the Bible says you got to believe, got to believe, got to believe. And guess what book says you got to believe more than all of them put together? Literally throughout the Bible and the New Testament especially, you can take them all and compare them to the word, that the word and the subject believe comes up. In the book of John, it's over 90 times. Matthew, Mark, and Luke altogether is only 25 times between all three of them that the subject of believing shows up. So the book of John is the book about believing. And what do we find out about believing? Jesus said once he drew all judgment to himself, that unbelievers are never going to be judged by him. Unbelievers are not going to be judged by Jesus Christ. Bet you never heard that in church. Why? Because they never read the chapter 12, I guess. I don't know. But here it is. I mean, it's laid out in story form, and it is so powerful. It's so glorious. Now, we were talking about authority also. Now, Jesus also in the book of John made the declaration of what was going to happen to us. And that is that the Father, he and the Father were one. Did we establish that? He said, me and the Father are one. We're one. They're one. He's one with me. I'm one with him. You've seen me. You've seen him. But then Jesus also said that what he was about to do would make us one with them, even as they are one. Wow. Even as. That's what they got mad at Jesus for in chapter John. When he said he was the Son of God, they tried to stone him to death then. And he slipped out of their way. But here's the other part of the issue of you not being under judgment. You see, to be under judgment, you have to have an authority that's above you. In Christ. Now, don't fall out of your seat. Don't pass out. Don't call the prayer chain. There's no need in calling them. There's nothing they can do for you. There's no authority over you. That's what freedom is. You know, if you had a benevolent king or you had a really tyrannical king, if a king is in charge of your life, you're a slave. But you see, we're not slaves anymore. What Jesus did raised you up and made you equal with the Father, even as he is equal with the Father. So not only did he take away the law, not only did he take away sin, he equalized the authority to where that all of us are on one level, to the point to where there's nobody up there to judge us. I love the gospel. Goodness gracious. I know I say things that Christianity not only cringes at, but I've been thrown out of churches for saying these things. I don't get thrown out anymore because they don't invite me. I am the uninvited Bible teacher around the world. And that's okay with me, because the truth of this gospel has freed so many people's hearts and minds that it makes no difference to me who rejects me or not. I'm concerned that you'd reject the gospel, though. But you see, even if you reject the gospel, God's not going to judge you. But the rejection of the gospel is the rejection of understanding as to who you are. You are one with God. God's not out in heaven someplace. He is in you. You and he and Christ, we are equal. That's what Jesus prayed. Don't you think Jesus gets his prayers answered? I know it's radical. That's why we call it around here a gospel revolution. Be sure and tune in on Friday night at 7 p.m. I'll be live from from the bonus room above my sister's garage. I will be live from my home. So we're looking forward to doing that. Thank you guys. We love you so much. We'll share this gospel as long as we have breath in our lungs, because it is the power of God unto the saving of this thing right up here. Love you.